Morning, glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. Greetings, everyone. Jake Sherman joins me from Punchbowl News, which I read every morning, punchbowlnews.com. You don't have to subscribe. They will just send you their Punchbowl News in the morning. How are you, Jake?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good. Now, we've been doing this for a few months now. Now is my first complaint ever about Punchbowl News. What
Let's
do you
hear
think
it.
it is?
I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you think it. I'm curious to hear what it is, and I'll let you know if it surprises me.
Your number one story leads with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar abandoning their plans to create an America First caucus. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the most marginal member of the House of Representatives. She's got nothing to do with the Republican Party except she won a divided primary. She's going to get redistricted out of existence. And she started a stupid idea. She probably didn't even know that the America First caucus has a name that is redolent with bad vibes from the 1930s. And Jim Acosta did the same thing with Michael Waltz. And I want to play that clip for our audience, and let's talk about how the media covers the marginal. Michael Acosta, by the way, Jim Acosta is now got his own show on the weekends. Michael Waltz is the congressman for whom my son works. I always declare that. Here's cut number 9.
And Congressman, just very quickly, I want to ask you about Marjorie Taylor Greene scrapping her efforts to form an America First caucus there in the House. Did you have any plans to join that caucus? And what do you make of that? Idea?
I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything besides what was reported. I saw her statement saying there were some things floating around in the draft, but she had no plans to launch anything. But Jim, I would hope you also have Democrats on and ask them if they agree with Maxine Waters calling for more confrontation in Minneapolis as we speak with such a counterpeg. I think we need to tone down the temperature and the rhetoric on all sides, whether it's on the left or the right. We need to tone it all down.
So, that's like if I had been Waltz and I was not consulted, I would have asked Jim Acosta if he planned to join InfoWars. I mean, it's just crazy, Jake, that we pay any attention to the marginal. And Michael Waltz made a very good point. Maxine Waters, the chairman of a committee, she's made very controversial comment. She's not in the punch bowl this morning.
Yes, she is. She's the next thing down.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I misstated. I said she's not in the top line. At the same time, House Republicans have begun to try to capitalize on.
Item.
Well,
Yeah,
okay, I call the top.
Item.
I call the top item the first paragraph, but there it is right there. At the same time, House Republicans have begun to try to capitalize on Representative Maxine Waters saying in Minnesota. Now, I do object to the phrasing of that. Why not just cover what she said?
I had a text about that this morning, but let me put it this way.
That's like Republicans pounce. Republicans pounce.
No, it's not like that. It's not like that. Someone else said that, and I had a discussion with them this morning. I have a lot of discussions, Hugh, as you can imagine, between the hours of 6 and 7. But no, listen, here's the thing. The Republicans are going to move to try to censure Maxine Waters. It's actually going to be a tough vote. When we say they try to capitalize on it, censure means that's what we meant. I mean, could we have phrased it differently? Sure. I don't think it's not a Republicans pounce thing. I think that Republicans are going to try to censure her this week. Would have to imagine Kevin McCarthy's leading the charge, and that's going to be a really tough vote for some Democrats. I mean, remember, Hugh, the margins in the House of Representatives right now are extraordinarily slim. McCarthy needs to get 3 or 4, I think 3 Democrats to vote with him to censure Maxine Waters. That's going to be really, really interesting. I'm going to cover that a lot. Now, on the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, we have taken the point of view at our news organization that we don't chase shiny objects. We don't deem this to be a shiny object. When a sitting member of Congress suggests that attaches their name and to an effort that talks about what that document talked about, which we broke on Friday of last week, that is worthy of coverage. That is nativist language that is so outside of the mainstream that it is worthy of coverage. Now, what you won't see, Hugh, is you won't see us covering every tweet of hers. That's not the game we're in. That's not the business we're in. But we will when it's time, and we can agree to disagree on this, and we don't cover her heavily. But in things like this, the leadership was forced to respond. I didn't ask them for comment. They were forced to respond on their own. And they spoke out against this. So we thought this was very, very, very worthy of coverage.
All right, now my response to that, Jake, and I don't like to argue forever about this, but I think Punchbowl
Yep.
News is the best, is that it's not the top story, it's not the top 10 story, it's not the top 20 story. We have Japan's prime minister for the first ever visitor at the White House on Friday, saying he'll stand side by side against Taiwan aggression. We have Johnson & Johnson's vaccine rollout screwed up. We have news that the China vaccine doesn't work in Chile. We've got we got so many different stories, and we've got John Cornyn, probably the most significant domestic story, saying, "Look, I'll take $100 million. I'll take infrastructure for $800 million, Alex." That sort of stuff, as opposed to $2.3 trillion. She is a marginal congressperson. It was a stupid effort, and it doesn't deserve to be top of Punchbowl News. And on the Maxine Waters, first you report it straight, which is Maxine Waters did so-and-so, then you report the react. But that's just my view.
That's your view. The way we view it, Hugh, and it's a fine point of view to have. The way we view it is that news has been out there, so we're not the newspaper of record. So what we do is we try to provide context around stories that have already broken. That we don't publish on the weekends. This broke yesterday, I believe. It had been widely publicized. People had commented on it, so we felt it was our role to provide context within our expertise. But
okay,
what you're
fair
saying
enough.
is a fine point of view to hear. Yeah.
Let's move on. Does Punchbowl News cover the media?
No.
Okay, because I am curious. The biggest story actually in politics is who's going to run CBS News and who's going to run CNN, because they both will face a decision as to whether or not they're going to bring their news organizations, which have gone fundamentally to the left, back to the center. I mean, CNN so far to the left, it fell off the planet. CBS has drifted that way, although John Dickerson coming back to fill in. Is Margaret Brennan going on pregnancy leave? Is that what that's all about?
I do think I saw something out of the corner of my eye yesterday that it was her last show before leave. So I assume that's what it is. Although, I guess don't hold me to that because I'm not in touch.
That's what I saw too. I just saw Dickerson's coming back, which is great because I thought John is one of the best journalists in America, and so I think these two news organizations are political decisions as to whether or not they want to come back from the woke side of the world. Do you have any? Do you cover that at all? Who's going to succeed Zucker? And that's interesting to me.
We don't. We don't. I'll tell you why. We're four people, three journalists, and Anna does a lot of the long-term planning and runs the organization a lot more than I do. So me and John Bresnahan are the only real two full-time editorial people, and we just have to stick to what our expertise is, and that it's Congress and governing and the White House, and we just can't. If we get pulled away, and I don't mean that this is not important, media is incredibly important, and maybe there will be a time where we do weigh in one way or the other with reporting on media, but we don't. And listen, I will say this, Hugh, CNN, there's a lot of rumors about what CNN will do, whether AT&T will sell it or what will happen in the kind of post-Trump era. We're still in the dawn of that era. And listen, CBS, and I thought actually the New York Times did a really nice job this morning with its story. I don't know if we included it. I don't think we did. I read it this morning about basically saying that they find themselves in the same position they found themselves in when Zirinsky took over a couple years ago, which is in third in the morning and third at night. And
I did read that. They're in trouble. CNN's in worse trouble. CNN's fallen off the cliff. But I want to cover one more story with you, which is John Cornyn's announcement, because it's interesting to me, and you're a Hill reporter. John Cornyn and John Thune are the two previous and current whips of the Republicans. Mitch McConnell, there is no heir apparent, although John Thune is in the pole position right now. Is Cornyn possibly thinking about running for president, or is he thinking about running for majority leader when he gets out ahead and puts out, we'd settle for 800 in infrastructure?
I think he's running for majority leader, to be honest with you. I don't think he's running for president. I think John Cornyn has on some of these issues. I think, I don't want to say he's a moderate. He's not. He's a conservative. But he does find his way to the, not the middle, but to workable on a lot of these issues.
Yeah, he's center right. He's like I am. He's a center right guy like Thune and Rob Portman. He's center right and very, very smart. And that's why I thought maybe he'd throw his hat in the ring. Did you read Ross Douthat's column on DeSantis being the biggest kid on the block when it comes to the Republican primary?
I did. I think that's interesting, and I think that there's been a lot of really interesting coverage on him, and I think he's in the slot if Donald Trump doesn't run. I assume you think so as well.
Oh, he's in the top five. The Vice President Pompeo, Cotton, DeSantis, and Christie are in that slot with Tim Scott and Nikki Haley just below them. But we'll talk about that plenty in the weeks and months ahead. PunchbowlNews.com, America. Get your... Very rarely do I quarrel with Jake. I normally just compliment him. But, once in a while, just to shake it up, I have to keep him on his toes from the right-wing perspective. Thank you, Jake. Don't go anywhere, America. Coming right back. 1-800-520-1234. I've got Glenn Youngkin coming up a little bit later. He's going to be Virginia's next governor. I've got Josh Kraushaar coming. John Oliot, the former National Security Council spokesperson. And Len Kordovsky and Victoria Coates. They're both here. I got so much happening on this Monday morning. Don't go anywhere. It's the Hugh Hewitt Show.